Well, welcome to episode 2 of Kulpable. I got some great feedback from you all on the pilot. It's clear people want more offensive content in 20 minutes or fewer. I'm also proud to announce that the technical difficulties from the pilot have been resolved. Although it was sort of perfect that the pilot had so many issues. The audio is in one side. The audio and video lost sync around the 20-minute mark. The video started skipping at the end. To me, shipping something on a show about ship fear that is broken is the perfect pilot. And I think that irony was lost on a few of you, but I'm going to give you several more episodes to catch up with us. Anyway, today in this episode, we are going to talk about mansplaining, steak, tolerance, and I have a note for the men out there. Mansplaining. Someone said this on a TV show the other day, and it was part of the script. Don't mansplain me. And I wanted to do some research to catch us up on mansplaining because it's been a few years since this hit the market. Let's go over to Totally Not Communist Company et al.'s perspective on this. Google Trends. We've got mansplaining. We're looking at only in the United States since 2004. You really can't make this stuff up. We spiked in October 2020. I wonder what happened then. Maybe there was like an election coming up then. And the number one city in the United States talking about mansplaining is Berkeley, California, where they burned down their buildings because a gay conservative speaks at their university. So that's cool. But I want to now take a look at the opposite of mansplaining. I think it's womansplaining. And the data is pretty clear. Women know nothing. So here's what I want to say about this. Women, I'm just kidding, obviously. Women know a lot of things. Women know how tampons work. They know how to bake cookies. And I just think that women need to do a better job telling us what they know that we do not know. Because for the last 20 years, we've really got you beat. And men are doing all of the work here, particularly in California. All right, next, steak. Steak is something that I've always loved, and I've eaten it a few times a week for the past several years. And I don't think this is something that makes me special. I think a lot of people love steak, lobster, the finer things in life. But something about it, I really, really love it, like an irrational level. And I started to think about why that is. And it occurred to me that for me, steak has such a connection with success because it is expensive. It's typically something you can only afford on a special occasion. Whether you can afford it or not, you might only eat it on a special occasion to preserve some sort of premium aura around it. And we know that when you celebrate big business deals, at least in the movies, they go celebrate with a steak dinner. So for a few years, the last few years, I eat steak and think, this is why I work hard. And it's almost this Pavlovian connection where if I'm feeling sluggish, I can eat steak and it encourages me to work harder because I spent so many other occasions eating steak after working hard, if that makes sense. Fast forward to now, I've tried to expand this definition or this Tony Robbins-esque trigger for my energy, and I've tried to expand it beyond steak. I've tried to expand it a little bit into the material world, not so much nice objects, but having, a home to live in instead of a studio apartment. And now it's really neat because I look around the home and say, this is why I work hard. That cool thing on the wall, that, I don't want to say achievement, but that memory, this door, this cool handle that's on this door. It's not a regular door handle. It's a nice one. That's why I work hard. And I guess I'm saying this, talking about steak as the introductory point, but what I'm really getting at is there is some value in material possession to the extent that it reminds you, encourages you, motivates you to keep this feedback loop in place. I think a lot of people find some sort of success and then the feedback loop goes away. So let's say you make some money, you go buy a cabin in the woods and you're doing nothing all day and you get depressed because you don't have that feedback loop of achievement and you don't have a feedback loop saying, why am I doing this? I think it's also really common now to be a little bit more miserly with money, minimalism and all these trends that are really great for many, many people. And I'm somewhat minimal. This is actually the most busy room in our house. Most rooms have nothing in there. My bedroom has a mattress. However, to a certain degree, a bit of material possessions can be just visual cues and reminders. This is why I work hard and this is why I shouldn't slack off today. I'm sleeping in a nice bed so that I can get good rest and wake up extra early tomorrow and go back and grind it out on some projects or creating something new. Even if you buy a big whiteboard, you're going to encourage yourself to have bigger ideas than if you buy a little paper notebook. For me, that was steak. Now I'm expanding it to other objects as well. Next, we've got tolerance. There's a lot of definitions of tolerance. It's a popular topic in the news. I'm going to throw out my own definition and another perspective on how to treat people who disagree with you. It's a perspective I haven't heard before, but it might be helpful. First, I'd say tolerance is when you don't hate the people who hate you. Now, I've read Getting to Yes, several negotiation books, difficult conversations, and I believe in something called joint contribution. So if someone hates you, I'm not this gullible. I think maybe there's a reason they hate you. Okay, so here's a point for, let's say, the libs who hate some conservatives or vice versa. There's a reason, there's joint contribution. We're not all innocent. So we have to ask ourselves, why would someone hate me? Well, maybe some people hate me, and people definitely do hate me personally, because I disapprove of their beliefs, their lifestyle, and their behaviors, at least some of them. But what I want to posit today is that disapproval does not mean dislike, much less does disapproval equal hatred. And I want to illustrate it like this. A Jewish person or a Muslim does not eat bacon, but just because they do not eat bacon does not believe they think you are less than human for consuming bacon. In fact, this person who cannot eat bacon may actually want to eat bacon, but their beliefs hold them back from doing so. Meanwhile, when someone who does eat bacon learns that there is a group out there who does not enjoy bacon, they should say to themselves, wow, that's quite a sacrifice. So there's something sort of noble in withholding from potentially a type of pleasure or experience. You can recognize that there can be nobility there. It doesn't necessarily mean ignorance, and that doesn't necessarily mean negativity. There could be nobility in making a sacrifice and abstaining from some type of lifestyle. Similarly, they might say, hey, if only this person tried bacon, then maybe they would change their mind about it. So those are a couple reasonable responses that someone on the team A, let's say, not blue-red, could have about team B who disapproves of their lifestyle. On the other side, now we're talking about team B, when someone doesn't approve of your lifestyle, when you have a lifestyle that other people don't approve of, you can do two things. You can try to persuade them to your way of thinking, which is fine, or you can do nothing at all. Because frankly, trying to get a Jewish person to eat bacon is immoral. Think about that. And this is really what's playing out right now with wokeism. One side says no thanks. The other side says you have to learn to like it. So wokeism is the removal of personal preferences, thus the removal of morality itself. Let people eat bacon, let people not eat bacon. It doesn't mean they hate you. Lastly, we're keeping these episodes shorter thanks to the pilot episode feedback. This is a note for the men, a note for the boys. Shout out to Ryan Long for producing the funny Boys Cast. It's an awesome little show on YouTube. We've all heard people say, work hard, play hard. Many people live by this. This is not a guy or girl thing if the women are still watching, although I encourage you not to. Work hard, play hard. This never sat right with me because to me in practice, work hard, play hard really means work hard and then rationalize immoral behaviors because you work hard. And those two things are totally not connected at all. So for example, someone who is an investment banker in New York City, they work 12 hours at the investment bank. Honestly, they're just making PowerPoints. That's mostly what they do, some spreadsheets. And then they go snort cocaine at the bar in the Lower East Side that evening. This does not really, these are not really compatible ideas, but thanks to work hard, play hard culture, this is an easy way to justify poor behavior, is simply to just work hard and then rationalize it later. I've personally followed a different logic for a few years, something like work hard, rest hard. I'm not sure who first said that term. I'm not coining that term, but it's just been in practice how I've behaved. So I might work very hard for a day or two or three, or for weeks at a time, and then I want to play video games during lunch and drink alcohol. Then I want to sleep in 14 hours. Then I want to watch 2 or 3 movies back to back, which I used to do in New York City. Shout out Movie Pass, rest in peace. And finally, earlier this year, to tie all this together, I read a book called Bronze Age Mindset. Bronze Age Mindset. It is offensive and funny and weird, and the guy speaks perfect English but intentionally added grammar mistakes to sound like he's a 6'9" Russian English as a second language learner. It's just a pretty interesting book. Again, women, this is not for you. You're not going to like it. But I read this book, and among other things, one of the topics he gets on is that in ancient times, let's just say Roman times, men were either out fighting, conquering, or they were feasting, drinking, and with women. One or the other. They lived in 2 modalities, high intensity, low intensity. Nowadays, we don't have to go kill people and conquer territory, thankfully, but we can still conquer just in a more conceptual way. We can still conquer markets, customers, our day, how we manage our time, administrative tasks, team members. We can still learn to go out and conquer and be in that mode or rest mode. And that's how I want to encourage us all today throughout this weekend to live our lives as either the sleeping lion or the hungry lion. See you next week.